Does Bruno Fernandes have to change his game tactically to get the best out of him in this Amorim system? Well, it became very evident over recent weeks that many United fans are becoming frustrated with Bruno Fernandes' in-game contributions, and I think a lot of it comes down to his positioning and his discipline within the tactical structure. We're going to cover a few tactical details in this video where I think Bruno Fernandes is hurting this Manchester United structure. Now, to be clear, Bruno Fernandes is a player that I think going forward must be part of this Amorim system. He's a player who can score goals, create chances, proven over years at Manchester United. However, under recent managers, there's been an expectancy for him to deliver and possibly win games off the back of individual moments. And at the moment, that's hurting United within this Amorim structure. Now, since Amorim's arrival, he's played in two positions. He's played as the inside forwards or the number 10s, but he's also played as part of the double pivot. And I think that's been intentional from Amorim, given his lack of discipline when playing in one of the two 10s. Now, when I done a deep dive and an analysis, which is on the channel of Amorim's structure at Sporting, it was really evident that there was discipline required when playing in these two 10 positions. And one of the main reasons for that was that when Sporting were in possession, and now we see it with United when they're in possession, Amorim wants to create this wide diamond shape which facilitates progression. We see that the central centre-backs are tasked with playing line-breaking passes directly into the 10s, and then it can bring the full-back into play, it can bring one of the deeper pivots into play, and we actually see Manchester United score a goal off the back of Fernandes' brilliant positioning, where we played a direct ball forward, Bruno started higher but dropped low, and played a little combination with Agate. We end up driving forwards, and United scored off the back of it. But I think this is one of the few moments where we've seen what Amorim would want from Bruno Fernandes. So what are the main issues we're seeing tactically? Well, the biggest issue for me is that the two 10s within this system need to be incredibly disciplined and often rigid in their positioning. And what we're seeing at the moment, and not a lot of United fans are going to agree with this, and it might upset some United fans, but Bruno's lack of discipline and lack of sacrificial nature is hurting this United side, given the positions he's taken up. Like I said at Sporting, it was super important for Trincao and Goncalves generally to adopt these high 10 positions but maintain them throughout the game. And what we've seen from Bruno Fernandes is that there's times where he's becoming a little bit frustrated in the games. There's often times where Bruno maybe isn't receiving the ball as much as he would like, and we're seeing Fernandes far too often come into these deeper positions to pick up the ball. The fullback possibly goes higher, but it leaves a huge void in these areas and becomes much more difficult to bring the centre forward, the deeper pivot or the left wing back into play. Teams are happy for Fernandes to receive the ball in these positions, maintain their structure, maintain their block, and as I said, it becomes much more difficult to start playing them line-breaking passes when there's nobody available in these spaces. Now, what we're seeing at Sporting was that there was times where the attacking midfielder would drop deep, but it was a coordinated movement with the left wing back going high at the same time, and momentarily it would bring the centre-backs out of position and create a little bit of space in the pocket here for the wing back to go on and receive directly. But this isn't what we're seeing with Fernandes. We're seeing that he's not starting high and dropping low. It's often that he's starting in these lower positions through frustration of wanting to get on that ball that little bit more. And again, as I said, under previous managers, there's been times where we've relied on his individual quality to get on the ball, and it's possible that them habits are still stuck in Bruno Fernandes' game, and that should he not receive the ball, he's coming into deeper positions to try and pick it up, and almost a feeling that he has to go into these deeper positions to get on the ball and try and create something for United. Now, a second pattern that we would see consistently for Amorim Sporting was that the two 10s would go really high and somewhat attached to the centre-backs, and then they would move into the wider positions, and as they moved and dragged that centre-back out of position, we would see Gyökeres make them channel runs and direct balls into the channels. Again, it was completely sacrificial from the attacking midfielders. We knew at times that if they went in there and centre-back followed, it would be a sacrificial movement, but Gyökeres would get space in behind, or if the centre-backs became aware of it and we started seeing that the centre-backs wouldn't follow the attacking midfielder in, that's when it started creating these little bits of space for the attacking midfielder. But the initial 2 or 3 movements from the 10s, always in this Sporting side, were almost sacrificial in that they were testing the waters. Was the centre-back going to follow? Were we going to get space for Gyökeres, or was I going to get space to receive in between the lines and either turn and go and play forward or link with the left wing-back or the inside pivot? Now, I think for Fernandes to work in this 10 position for United, there has to be a lot more discipline, particularly in his positioning. There's got to be an understanding now between Manchester United fans, Ruben Amorim, Bruno Fernandes himself, that we want to become less reliant on one individual player and become more reliant on 11 players working within the structure. That can be hard because, as we've said, the habits of the old Manchester United, especially under Erik ten Hag, where we've seen a lot of individual quality dragging us out of games, or relying on individual quality to win games, and often that came through Bruno Fernandes. But when Fernandes does keep that discipline, which we want to see more often, we're seeing the quality that can be on offer for United. There was a line-breaking pass forward, Fernandes dropped and has the quality to play them one-touch combinations back into Ugarte. The centre-back was dragged out of position and it offered space for United to go and exploit on the opposite side, and we ended up scoring off the back of it. Now, I think one of the frustration for fans is that we're seeing more discipline from less experienced players when playing these roles, particularly that of Amad Diallo, in that he maintains these half-space positions, he's often available for line-breaking passes, he receives the ball between the lines, he links play with the wing-back, with the centre mid, with the 10, and it's not too often that we see him dropping into these deeper, wider positions and leaving a void in these areas. But I think what we're seeing is a culmination of bad habits which Bruno's possibly developed over the last 2 or 3 managers, because it was an expectancy for him to go and create something or go and win the game for Manchester United. And I think that was the nature that we created at Manchester United, in that he became so relied upon as an individual player that now we want him to be more rigid and more positionally disciplined. It can be hard for the player to adopt that within, 4 or 5 weeks of Amorim arriving at Manchester United. Now, we're touching it at the start of the video and we're seeing Amorim play Bruno in one of these 2 pivot positions. Long term, I don't think this is an option for Manchester United. I think with the quality that Bruno has, he's got to play in one of these inside forward positions. But I think it's been intentional from Ruben Amorim for the reasons I've specified in this video, that there is an evident lack of discipline and lack of sacrificial nature within Bruno Fernandes' game at the moment. And by playing in one of the 2 pivot positions, he'll naturally feel more discipline, he'll naturally see more of the ball during the build-up, and any lack of discipline during the possession phase doesn't hurt United's attacking structure, in that we want to maintain width and depth across the 5 lanes, and we want to have these attacking midfielders available for line-breaking passes throughout the game. So where do we go with Bruno Fernandes in this Amorim system? And I think it's important for fans to allow Fernandes time to develop a bit more of that sacrificial nature and that positional discipline within one of these 2-10 positions. Amorim said it perfectly, in that we're going to suffer for a period of time, and that's not just collectively, that's individually as well. We might see some players who've developed really bad habits over 2 or 3 managers. We might see it take time for them to become a little bit more disciplined within this structure. But I think it's important for the output that Fernandes can have in terms of quality in the final third, ability to link up play, that we allow Fernandes more time to become accustomed with this rigid 3-2-5 Ruben Amorim system. So although there's a little bit of frustration at the moment, in that it's evident to fans that we can see Bruno dropping into positions we don't want him to be, and the manager likely doesn't want him to be, we're seeing him pick up balls in these areas, often trying longer range passes and resulting in losses of possession. Over time, this will change. We've got to allow Ruben Amorim more time on the training pitch, because there's been a lack of it at the moment, to get these players into a position where they are much more disciplined, both in and out of possession, collectively and individually. Thank you for watching. I hope these videos give people a good idea of why it might not be working for Bruno Fernandes at the moment, but why more time on the training field working with Ruben Amorim within this rigid but disciplined structure will benefit Bruno Fernandes, and why he's so important going forwards in them attacking areas. Please like and subscribe for more tactical content.